Okay, in this video here, I'll be demonstrating a basic configuration of InterVlan routing with the use of the VLAN trunking protocol. For those of you with the packet tracer software, you may follow along by downloading a copy of the packet tracer file from the link provided below through RapidShare. All right, I'm gonna assume that you already have some basic knowledge about VLANs and VLAN trunking protocols. In this setup here, I'll be configuring two separate VLANs, VLANs 10 and 20 here. I'll be setting up two sub-interfaces on this route here, fast Ethernet 0/0.10 and fast Ethernet 0/0.20. And I'll be setting up VLAN trunking protocol information on the switches here. This switch here will be set up as a VTP server to distribute VLAN information across these two servers here. So these will be set up as VTP clients. First thing we'll go ahead and do is set up the sub-interfaces on a router here. We'll go ahead and click on the router here, go into the CLI tab. And I don't have any password set up on the router or any of the other devices, just for simplicity's sake. We'll just go ahead and type in the enable command. Now, if you're not familiar with configuring routers, Cisco routers, keep in mind that the physical interfaces on a router are shut down by default. So we're going to go ahead and enable that fast Ethernet 0/0. Just go ahead and go into the interface command here. We're just going to issue the no shutdown command. We don't need to configure any IP address information on this interface itself. What we need to do is set up our sub-interfaces. So let's go ahead and type in interface fast Ethernet 0/0.10. And we don't need to enable these. These will automatically be enabled by default once we create them. So as you can see here, change the command line protocol on interface fast Ethernet change state to up once we issued the interface fast Ethernet 0/0.10 command. So let's go ahead and use the 802.1q encapsulation protocol of choice for VLAN trunking. So we're going to go ahead and set up the encapsulation here, 1q, and this one we're going to tell it to be VLAN 10. So that's it. That's the command there, encapsulation to 1q10. Now we'll set up the IP address information. So we're using a 24-bit mask here. And that's pretty much it. Just what did I forget here? Did I forget? I forgot a number. 10.254. My apologies there. Alright, so that's set up here. So we're using the last address in a subnet, okay, as a base address. That's for both interfaces. So go ahead, and now that one's configured, let's go ahead and go directly into the next sub interface here. Okay, instead of VLAN 10, we're going to set this one up as VLAN 20. Set up the IP address. Oop, I can't type. Alright, so that's set up. Now let's go ahead and verify our configuration. Just type in Control-Z to exit out completely. And just do a show run here. So looks good. .1q10 looks good. That looks good. So let's go ahead and save it. Just type in write memory. You can also type in write mem just to write that information to memory, and that'll write it to the startup config file. So let's go ahead and exit out of this. Now we're going to go ahead and configure our switches. We're going to configure the three interfaces on here as trunks. First thing we'll do is use enable command, go into fast Ethernet 03. These right here, we don't have to enable. These are automatically turned on, the interfaces. We don't have to issue the no shutdown command on any of this switches. Only on the routers we have to do that on the physical interfaces. So let's go ahead and set this up as a trunking protocol by using the switchboard command, switchboard mode trunk. We'll do that with the other interfaces as well. Switchboard mode trunk. We can also use the up arrow too. Switchboard mode trunk. Alright, now let's go ahead and exit out of that and set up the VLAN BTP information. So by default, this was automatically on a switch. It's automatically configured as a server. If we issue the VTP status information, you can see the operating mode is already set to a server. So we'll just need to set up that domain information in order to get the VTP messages sent out to the other switches. So let's go ahead and VTP domain. We're going to we'll just use domain Cisco just for simplicity's sake. We can also set up a VTP password. We'll just use network exclamation mark. You can set up, of course, if you're doing this in a real environment, you want to use a more secure password than that. Alright, now let's set up our VLAN information. We'll just type in, let's see, VLAN 10. Okay. We can also type in a name if we want. I'm just going to exclude this part of it. You can type in the name command and then type in, either accounting or, finance, something like that. We'll just leave that blank and have the switch automatically give it a name by default. So let's go ahead and exit out of that. VLAN 20. Exit out of that. Let's just verify this information. We can see that we have the two VLANs here that we just configured. This is a name that Cisco gives it by default. Okay, if we were to have given it a name, it would be listed right here. So everything looks good. Show VTP status. We can see our domain is Cisco. Let's go ahead and write this to memory. Let's go ahead and set up the other switches here. So once we set up the VTP server as this VTP server, once we set up the domain on this, it's automatically going to start to send VTP messages out to the other switches. So this switch is already going to have the domain information. If we type in if I can type here, we can see here that it already received a domain name. Alright, so now we need to set up the password. Password network. Alright, now let's just verify that it received the VLANs. Alright, here we go. So VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. Alright, so let's go ahead and set up we're going to set up fast Ethernet 0/1 as a trunk. We're going to set up the VLAN, fast Ethernet 0, 2, and 0, 3 as access ports. This one we're going to configure fast Ethernet 2 with VLAN 10, fast Ethernet 0, 3 with VLAN 20. So fast Ethernet 0, 2 access ports, VLAN 10, and fast Ethernet 0, 3. VLAN 20. So that's all we need to do there. I'm sorry, I'm going a little too fast. Just do Control Z to exit out of that, and we don't need to configure anything else. Just verify our information. Just type in show VLAN brief. Here we can see we have fast Ethernet 02 configured on VLAN 10 and fast Ethernet 03 configured on VLAN 20. So that's pretty much all we need to set up here. Everything looks good. Let's just go ahead and write this to memory here. And we'll do the similar setup here. So let's go ahead and go on this enable BTP password network 1. Let's go ahead and interface fast Ethernet 01 trunk. Actually, before we configure those interfaces, let's just make sure that it has received the VLAN information. Yeah, it looks good. VLAN 10 and 20. Alright, so now let's go ahead and configure the interfaces. Alright, so fast Ethernet 03 will be fast Ethernet 03 will be, let me minimize this window here. VLAN 10, and interface 02 will be VLAN 20. I forgot to set it up at access ports. Alright, so it looks good. Let's go ahead and run that. Let's verify our configuration here. Looks good. So fast Ethernet 03, VLAN 10, fast Ethernet 02, VLAN 20. Let's just write that to memory again. Alright, so let's go ahead and exit out of that. Now the next thing we'll do is let's go ahead. Everything's pretty much set up here. The next thing to do is to test the configuration. So what we'll go ahead and do is issue the ping command from this PC here, which is on VLAN 20, and make sure that it can reach this PC here, which is on VLAN 10. So let's go ahead and click on PC 3, go to the desktop tab, and click on the command prompt, and let's just go ahead and type in ping 192.168.10.1, and it's going to take a second to respond here. The first one will be a timeout, and after that we should get replies. There we go. So we should be able to ping all of the devices here on the network, assuming I didn't mistype anything. There we go. That's PC number 2 and PC number 1. There we go. So it looks like it's communicating with all of the devices. So that's pretty much. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep on the lookout for some more. This is my very first one, so I know it's probably not the best, but anyhow, thank you, and have a nice day. Bye.